Planning a wedding and feeling overwhelmed? Simply Eloped makes it easy. With over 14,000 elopements and vow renewals planned and 37 stunning U.S. destinations, the planners at Simply Eloped have you covered. Their all-inclusive packages connect you with over 700 top-tier vendors, cutting stress, cost, and complexity. And no two packages are alike because they customize it for you. Your story deserves ease. Let them handle the hard stuff. You just show up and say, I do. Start at simplyeloped.com.
Today on CityCast DC, we're talking about the latest scoop in DC's looming mayoral election. We're going to talk about the latest spillover effect from the city's youth crime problem. It's going to affect your e-bike rental. And we're talking about the fate of the federal building DC loves to hate. Plus Thanksgiving tips. And in a members-only fourth segment, we'll talk through the latest congressional bills that would rewrite DC laws. Our representatives don't get a vote, but we do have some thoughts. I'm here with Junaid Dill from Axios on the Dream City podcast and with CityCast's Annie Reese. Today is Friday, November 21st. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC's talking about. Hey, Junaid.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Annie.
Hello.
So, Junaid, you had a scoop yesterday. I love a good scoop, but I also love a name check of the tune in.
Where all the great gossip goes down.
Explain what you got there, man.
Yeah, so first off, Progressive Council member Janice Lewis-George looks like she's all in on a Zohran Memdani-style campaign for DC mayor. I got the plans, basically, that she's going to run on, thanks to a tipster who was sitting next to a advisor working for Lewis George and a former council member at Tune In on Capitol Hill, the restaurant. And they overheard all this planning that they're talking about for how to run as a Zohran Memdani-style candidate in D.C. Very quickly, it's an ambitious plan. Lewis George wants 5,000 plus volunteers. This would emulate like Mamdani's army of door knockers and phone bankers in New York City, like a fraction of that. But for DC, 5,000 is a huge number if they even get close to that. And the campaign apparently wants a digital guru from the Mamdani campaign to come and help in DC. And they're going to go big on TikTok and target young voters online. So this is advanced planning for Janice Lewis-George, who represents a lot of Upper Northwest and Ward 4, to run as a Democratic Socialist for mayor. Again, this was all overheard. Did you confirm
this? How did it? What happened? So person is there drinking a beer or whatever. They overhear this. They pick up their phone immediately and call Junaid. Did you know the person?
I don't want to talk about the person who, I can't tell my sources or anything like that, but this was clear as daylight what happened. And council member Tommy Wells was one of the people there having the conversation with an advisor working for Janice Lewis-George. So this is Tommy Wells's favorite spot on the Hill. People who know him know that. And Tommy Wells is a former council member of Ward 6 who represented that Capitol Hill area. And, just back to what was overheard was he pledged his support to Janice Lewis-George, said he was totally behind her and would work to help her fundraise and work on campaign strategy for her. And maybe interestingly, he also advised old school campaigning was also crucial, that you can't just win this with digital messaging.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me that the tune in of it all is really funny, and also feels like, did they really think this was going to be under the radar? Because that's a place where people who know what Tommy Wells looks like, know exactly what Janice Lewis-George looks like. That's not a place where you can kind of fly under the radar. That's a place where, people who work in politics are going to say oh my God, do you see who's there? Let's listen in.
Yeah. Don't have loud conversations, I guess, if you don't want to get overheard, especially in DC. I mean, the Hill is like such a, political place anyways. It's not unusual for this kind of thing to get overheard. Louis George herself wasn't there, but someone who seems to be working for her or advising her, at least at this stage before the campaign, was the one talking to Tommy, and they talked about launching a campaign in the first half of December. Is what was overheard by our spy.
Wait, can I ask you a couple of things, sort of on the like how seriously to take this all? One, what is her Janice Lewis George's social media profile like now? Because my sense is like people can sniff inauthenticity a mile away in that front, and so if somebody just suddenly becomes an online thing on launching their campaign, that is not necessarily a guarantee of becoming an online thing.
I don't think she has like the big social media presence other than the normal what a council member would have, but they want to build it, I guess. I mean, Mamdani, I don't know if he had a huge social media presence before. I mean, I know he was like he had his rap videos and everything, but people kind of dug those up after the fact. You kind of have to build all this, right. I think. But one thing Tommy Wells was also overheard as saying was, I don't think this made the story, but was that he advises everyone, you need media training. If you're going to run for office, you should get media training. And that was just one thing that was also talked about over breakfast at the tune-in.
And the second thing is this, we actually had a full conversation a couple of weeks ago about could like there be a Mamdani
really good
style
one.
Candidate in DC. But when I think of 5,000 volunteers, right, and recruiting them, true believers, I just think the kind of folks who are historically attracted to this sort of insurgent, social media heavy campaigns and have time to volunteer to knock are often people who went to college. And in a city that is like very polarized and divided, is that like is sort of attaching that vibe to a campaign a plus, or is it going to hurt her in places she'd need votes?
I mean, like I'm just trying to like think of campaign strategy. You do need door knockers in DC because you have this. You've covered this more than I have, but huge neighborhoods of row houses and residential neighborhoods where you need to fan out and send an army of people to knock on doors. Former Mayor Adrian Fenty ran a campaign for mayor many years ago that was kind of like focused on door knocking, and he was successful. So you need the manpower, but your point is more so, does it attract a certain profile of supporter that isn't representative of the whole city?
Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, yes, I don't think anyone has ever won a campaign without knocking on doors, so I don't mean to disparage the idea of it, but
right. No,
but I always think of like, well, this could go wrong in some ways.
I mean, like, and this was, I don't think my story says either that this is the full baked plan. We got to see what when they actually launch, how are they actually going to run this thing? But this was a very candid snapshot into
For sure.
what is actually being talked about here.
It must have been like Christmas morning when you got that call. You're like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, and we're all waiting for the actual campaigning to begin. There's been so much speculation and planning and all this, and when's it going to fire up?
Also in the news this week, I was obsessed with this story. You guys may have been too. The city has prevailed upon Lime, the bike share company that rents out e-bikes, to slow down the max speed of a Lime e-bike because apparently a lot of youth were using it as a getaway vehicle after robberies or assaults.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I feel like that sounds ridiculous. It sounds fun because it's like, on a bike. These things can go really fast, I will say.
Right. And now they will go 2 miles an hour or slower, max.
In certain places, right? Like the wharf and...
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's the max speed is less. There's a program that Lime offers where various people, like various low income demographics, Pell Grant recipients, et cetera, can get like a really cheap, $15 a month kind of deal. And I think this would apply to a lot of student age folks. So there is a sort of connection there with youth crime. Because my first question was like, well, can't grown-ups use Lime bikes as a getaway car too?
It's absurd. When I heard this, I was just like, really? We're slowing the bikes down? They do go fast, but now what's the point? Like they're going to go really slow.
Well, it sort of gets into the like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah,
I guess. Okay, so I am not a huge e-bike user, but I have a ton of friends who use them basically every day, both like cabbie bikes, predominantly cabbie bikes, or they have their own. So I like polled an array of friends. Number one, they were all kind of down on Lime bikes anyway. So Lime bikes were the ones that were going the fastest to start with. They were going to like 20 miles an hour. And so a lot of people were like, Lime bikes are too expensive anyway. I think that the reason they were used by so many students is probably like, because at one point they raised their rates to like kind of a lot of money, and then they've like shot them back down. But a lot of people are really generally in favor of a slightly slower speed. If you're walking with a baby, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're walking like in the neighborhood, I think like sometimes these bikes can really whip around. I think like the general consensus I heard is 15 miles per hour is kind of the Goldilocks speed. Not too fast, not too slow. You can still like, that's still a good clip, but it's not. Cabbie bikes, I think, can go up to 20 miles an hour, except they don't ever really. So I think that like that tends to be the max speed, which is fast enough that you feel safe if you're biking on the street, and slow enough that you're not on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I read that cabbie bikes
man.
average 15 miles an hour anyway. They didn't feel the need to change it.
Like, people, you're not supposed to be walking a baby with a stroller on the street, which is where, or I should put it differently, you're not supposed to be taking an e-bike on the sidewalk. So I'm not sure if that allowance is that important, but I just sort of have the bigger thing of like, so some knuckleheads want to go and like rob people or assault people or whatever, and everyone else who wants to just like ride their e-bike has to slow down as a result of that. And it seems like, I don't know. I mean, this is why it's sort of one of the many reasons, one of the very smallest first worldy reasons, how the sort of the crime stories that people often think of as involving others affect all kinds of random little parts of life.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that there is like kind of a subtext here, the fact that like kind of youth crime is invoked, right? Like this has like been top of mind in the city since before the federal takeover, but obviously at the center of it, I feel like there's just like a tinge of paranoia that we all kind of have about like doing things to curb that, But I guess I feel that like bringing it down to 15 miles per hour, I think that's still plenty fast, Mike.
No, but fine. Like if so, let's say like we think e-bikes are too fast, let's slow them down and don't use youth getaway vehicles as like the reason, if that's not the actual reason. But there is like,
so they're blaming the youths, and maybe it's not even their fault.
I mean, like I think that there's, I guess there's a lot of bad faith, or a lot of people who don't believe in the motivations of why people are changing transport in certain ways. I don't know if that's, we're just in a sort of low trust moment on that score. I'm not sure if that low trust moment is warranted or not, but it's probably inevitable. There is, the other story of youth crime related in the news this week is sort of the other end of the DC Council from Janice Lewis George, Councilmember Brooke Pinto. She's a centrist Democrat. She has introduced this a slate of bills, which I think are designed to sort of heighten her profile as she plans to run for the congressional delegate job. But a number of them focus on teens and youth and giving them more activities, like creating teen centers in all of the quadrants, strengthening after school programs, that sort of stuff. With the logic being, kids are hanging around Navy Yard doing knuckleheady things because they don't have other stuff to do. So that was another sort of another place where this issue was being fronted. I'm no criminologist, so I have no idea whether an increase in the number of teen centers or one of the changes, which I thought was interesting, was saying that banks have to give accounts to people 14 to 17 without their parents' permission, because one of the things Pinto said she heard from kids is they were reluctant to take one of the summer youth employment program jobs because they were worried their parents might take their money without their permission. So they could have their own bank account with no mom or dad co-signing. But this sort of, I don't know, the coincidence of the two things, the Lime bikes and these teen bills, struck me as sort of a sign of this being like a central issue in the city conversation about how to govern itself.
Gosh, it's almost like they had the DC Council had a secret meeting and they thought, what can we do? And Lime bikes was one way to attack it, and this bill was another way to attack it. They have those secret meetings. They voted to let themselves meet in secrecy from the public.
Are the kids all right? And they're sort of saying like, no. And there's a lot of different ways of trying to fix the same root problem, I guess, right? Or at least like maybe some of it's kind of scapegoating teens, but also some of it is like, okay, we're all looking at the same like crime stats. Like some people are coming at this from let's slow down the bikes. Others are all right. What social programs can we have? But we know we had this great episode earlier this week that was about the link between school truancy and youth crime. And one of the things that the reporters talked a lot about was that they'd heard of kids just saying that they were bored and there wasn't enough to do.
Yeah, and I think that's because the first reaction as an adult is like, well, all teens are bored. Teens always say they're bored. But I got an interesting email from a listener who was saying, it's interesting how people are saying that about school too, and I wonder if this is a reflection of a GC public school curriculum that has been really shifted towards quote unquote standards-based education and tests and so on. They're really trying to bring up the city's test scores. And has this made school more boring to some kids? I have no idea if the answers are, but I actually think it's a good question, because I think people ought to feel kids ought to feel engaged in the things that we make them do in life, including going to school. And similarly, I mean, doom scrolling your phone is pretty appealing. So insofar as like we, society, think it's like a good idea for young people to have a place to go, whether it's work or a cultural activity or whatever, teen programming, I think attention to like, are these things actually compelling enough to not bore people is probably a pretty good question to ask, and one I don't think ask enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading about these teen centers they're going to start. They're going to have like a little democracy experiment with them. They're going to have advisory councils where teens can have some decision-making authority, how to run the teen sites. The teen sites are going to be run by the DPR agency. Fitness classes, arts programming, creative writing, music recording.
What would you guys vote for?
The student council of the teen center. More arts. Do more arts.
Definitely
maybe.
more arts.
Yeah.
I overheard a couple of teens talking at the tune-in the other day. And
That's right, yeah.
here's how I think they're going to vote.
Reporting classes.
For sure.
This holiday season, DC small business needs our support more than ever. That's why we're excited to tell you about the DC Holiday Hunt, a citywide scavenger hunt that makes supporting local shops and restaurants fun and rewarding. It's simple. Earn points by visiting small businesses, exploring neighborhood landmarks, answering trivia questions, and sharing your favorite holiday traditions. With over $3,000 in prizes from local DC businesses up for grabs, there has never been a better reason to explore our city. The hunt runs from November 23rd through January 3rd. Visit districtbridges.org/DC Holiday Hunt to sign up today. That's districtbridges.org/DC Holiday Hunt.
Guess what? CityCast has some news. I'm Sean McPherson, the host of CityCast Twin Cities.
And I'm Jane Sihu, and I'm the host of CityCast Seattle. Hey, if you have a friend in one of our cities, can you text them for us?
Yeah, something, simple like, hey, how's that rash doing? And do you listen to podcasts? Because I have one you're definitely going to like. After that, tell them that CityCast has helped you become more informed, more involved, and more connected to your amazing city.
We're going to help that person you know in Seattle who's been trying to make friends.
And we're also going to do that for that guy you only kind of knew in college who moved back to the Twin Cities after graduation.
Don't we all have that guy?
Yeah, and usually that guy is named Todd.
So did you text them yet?
Jane, let's just wait a minute. We don't want to rush anybody. We'll do a little small talk. How's everything going in Seattle?
Beautiful, beautiful. Fall leaves popping. How about Twin Cities?
Today, beautiful and sunshiny in St. Paul. Okay, Jane, I bet they are done texting by now, and I just want to remind them, hey, you, please tell that friend to subscribe to CityCast Twin Cities or Seattle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Or if you don't want to text them and you're really just on Instagram sending them DMs all the time with like funny videos, send them a DM of our latest videos. You can find us at CityCast Twin Cities or CityCast Seattle on Instagram. Thanks.
Can we talk for just a sec, you guys, about the NIMBY fight at the White House?
Oh my God.
Fresh off tearing down the East Wing with little notice, the White House had dropped plans to paint the executive office building, the old executive office building, that kind of Second Empire style wedding cake of a building next to the White House, which has, when it was built, apparently they said to, I think it was Ulysses S. Grant, the president, that building is fireproof. And he was like, well, that's too bad. So it's a building that has had, like, since its inception, kind of mixed feelings. And on the one hand, it's sort of like frilly and like pomp filled in ways that are, I would think, Trump aesthetic adjacent. On the other hand, it's like this sort of gray concrete. So
which is not Trump.
The White House rolled out plans to paint it a blinding, blazing white. And this outraged a lot of preservationists and traditionalists and people with a more restrained sensibility, perhaps. And there's been litigation, and it's now on hold, at least until the new year. The White House has agreed. I hate to be cheering on NIMBY process stuff, but it seems like this is probably one that maybe the country ought to think about a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I called up one of my friends who's an architect, just to kind of get a little bit more context into what I was reading. And I was like, tell me about what painting stone would do. What would it even be? And she was like, any architect will tell you it's pretty nuts to paint stone. It likely, like, one of the things that they say in the lawsuit is that it could cause permanent damage because, like, eventually taking the paint off could cause that. But basically, stone is porous and it absorbs moisture and slowly dries out. So painting it would put a barrier up and could cause moisture issues. And at the very least, it would chip. Like a lot of people in DC, we see paint their brick houses. That looks nice, but it definitely requires maintenance. And this is also like this famously, like, extraordinarily ornate building with a lot of detail work. I'm actually not as much a hater as some. It's very French. It's kind of fun to have it within our DC buildings. I think a lot of other buildings are either neoclassical or brutalist, so I don't mind this. But yeah, definitely, it's just like, if you take all aesthetics aside, practically, and that's obviously what's in the lawsuit, this is not a good idea.
I like what Mike said. It is like a wedding cake of a building. But what caught my attention also is this statement from the government, GSA, the entity that would be in charge of renovating. It said they won't take any action, even power washing / cleaning the building. And it's like, you don't want to get rid of the patina either. You can't even power wash it.
But I don't understand.
That's what they said. The quote is, GSA will not authorize or engage in the physical actions of power washing / cleaning, painting, or repointing the Eisenhower Executive Office building.
Oh, I see. So I think that's I read that as you would power wash before you painted, so that this would be seen as like a preliminary.
I guess. Yeah, that's fair. I was like, do they not want the patina to go away? They just keep it 130 plus years of whatever.
But just for the record, I like that building too. I've just always been told that everyone else hates it. But
Right.
but maybe what we're determining here is
Stay
that
strong,
everyone thinks
Mike.
they like it. Everyone here thinks that they're the only one who likes it.
My secret is that I actually like the Eisenhower Executive Office building.
Hot take. Hot DC take.
And now let's head over to the Public Welfare Foundation, the sponsor of the Real Talk, Real Safety DC series. The Public Welfare Foundation is supporting efforts to build safer, more just communities across the district. So we're asking local leaders a simple question. If you could sit down with a DC resident and explain what actually makes neighborhoods safer, what would you tell them?
Hello, I am Gene Downing, the Policy and Education Associate at the Council for Core Excellence, and I'm also the Coalition Manager for the Second Chance Hiring Alliance, also at the Council for Core Excellence. If I can sit down with the DC residents and share with them what I think would make DC safer, the number one thing I would say to them is collaboration. Obviously, we need to work together in the communities, be it politicians or the community constituents themselves. We need to bring ourselves together to make sure that the rest of the city can see that no matter what, whether it's underserved communities or it's the Georgetown community, that these are the things that's needed. The number one thing is employment. If we bring our justice impacted people back into the city and we give them gainful employment, also some livable wages, then they can be helpful into making sure our city is safe. Again, you know, a lot of us come home from incarceration and jump right back into the very fight in which we got sent into. So we are out here now being credible messages. We are out here being advocates for organizations and our peer and youth mentors, right? And so for that, automatically let me know that if we can ingratiate these things into our communities as a whole, then it would definitely make our communities safer. And if I was given the opportunity to sit down with a DC resident and tell them what I think will make a community safer, employment and housing are the two things that I would lead with.
This segment is sponsored by the Public Welfare Foundation, and you can learn more about how they are supporting safer communities at realsafetydc.org.
What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
Okay, I'm really pumped. We are staying in DC and we're hosting a bunch of friends who are also staying in DC. I think it's like 15.
Is this the elusive Friendsgiving?
It's the elusive Friendsgiving, but actually happening on Thanksgiving Day. So it's like both Friendsgiving and real Thanksgiving. I'm making my own turkey stock. We're doing the whole thing. Last year, we actually
Wait. You're making turkey stock before Thanksgiving, or is it going to be with the detritus of Thanksgiving?
No, I'm making it before. I went to Eastern Market and got some like wings and turkey necks. So this weekend I'll be making turkey stock and adding my turkey stock to like anything that requires stock. So like the stuffing, maybe do mashed potatoes ever require stock? I don't think so. But anyway, so it's just like the real good quality stuff. Everything is packed in flavor and doing it from scratch. It's kind of a whole thing. Last year, my sister-in-law won a frozen turkey at Pinstripes Bowling. If you bowl a turkey, they give you a turkey.
Wow.
So that's what we used for our Thanksgiving turkey, which was very fun. But this year we got a nicer bird. It probably will taste exactly the same, but
Wait, you're doubting the quality of the free birds from a bowling alley?
No, I'm doubting the quality of even the nice one. I'm just saying turkey is kind of always turkey, right? Like,
which is
no
what I
one's
love
coming
about
to Thanksgiving for the
Thanksgiving.
turkey. Yeah.
But that's what I love about Thanksgiving is that like it's, you know, look, you can be a little fancy in the cooking and stuff, but it's kind of like beside with the main dish, at least, it's kind of beside the point, like
Yeah,
like
it's about the sides.
a pretentious turkey and a regular turkey taste about the same,
Right. I mean, a lot of those expensive turkeys are free range and they don't have much fat on them. You can be paying a lot more for not as tasty of a burger.
This is the American national holiday, man. We need to chemical that thing up.
That's true. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm in town. I'm gonna host my parents at my little condo. We're gonna have Thanksgiving turkey at my place.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
What about you, Mike?
I'm in town too. It used to be like when I was living in DC in my 20s, I would always wind up having a party that weekend because my like high school friends would come back home to see their families, but by like the day after Thanksgiving or something, the dysfunction would kick in and they would need to flee. And I lived here, so I had my own apartment. But now I'm like, my kids coming back from college and stuff. I'm sort of in a different Thanksgiving place. But my brother's going to come to town, and we will go to my wife's brother's house, who lives near us, for dinner. And I really like all the components of Thanksgiving, including the non-gift thing and the difficulty making it fancy or pretentious. So everyone will take a piece of the cooking.
Totally.
And I don't know, it's always fun. And DC's a fun place on big holidays, especially Thanksgiving, because it's so transient. Because so many people are not from here. The city really sort of empties out. I remember when I lived in Philly, and I would come back home to DC to my parents for Thanksgiving. On the highway, the backups were always going in the other direction because DC is a place people leave for Thanksgiving, and Philly, is a place people leave for good and then come back home for Thanksgiving. The pro tip I always give, like the visitors and stuff, is Smithsonian museums, National Gallery. They're open on Thanksgiving. They're open 364 days a year.
Yeah.
And so the weekend gets pretty crowded in there, but the actual day, like while your bird is roasting or whatever, it's a pretty good time to explore like tourist Washington.
Yeah, I think it can be really fun. We live here day in and day out, but it can be really fun to have take yourself on a little bit of a tourist day. This past weekend, I went to the Library of Congress with a friend because it was reopened. Thank you, government shutdown ending. And we got Library of Cards so that we can use the reading room. And it's so easy. And it was so fun to get to be in the reading room, this glorious space in the middle. I think you're not allowed to bring water in. So doing work or reading for a really long time seems more difficult. But doing something like that, I think taking yourself on a DC date is a really fun thing to do after Thanksgiving.
This is also the time of year when we get a lot of tips about where to buy food if you're not in the mood for cooking. Our colleague Kayla rounded up a bunch of them. What were your favorites?
Honestly, 250 Texas Barbecue. This place is taken DC by storm. They're incredible. So it's something that Ash has done a really great Instagram post on. You should check it out. And they're doing a barbecue Thanksgiving, which I feel like is pretty underrated. There's just a lot of places doing kind of a creative take, Amparo Fondita is doing a mole brine turkey with chipotle butter and adobo rojo, which sounds insane. There's just if you look for this article, there's a lot of places that are not doing, as Mike would put it, the pretentious, or maybe this is pretentious, but it's okay because they're professionals. This is the sort of creative take.
I mean, if you want to get really Jesuitical about it, I think I'm in favor of creativity the other 364 days of the year. I think the great thing about Thanksgiving as sort of the ultimate American holiday, and one that's sort of where the kind of the tale of immigrants in a new land is part of the mythology of it, is that people are supposed to incorporate their own traditions into it, and it is just like a turkey itself, it is eminently doctorable, but
wow, Mike, you should put that. You should embroider that on something.
When I read about the ciabatta chestnut stuffing as part of the special at Blue Duck Tavern, I think that sounds pretty good at some other day,
Whoa, I'm sorry. Is no one else getting the Popeyes Cajun style fried turkey?
Popeyes.
Is that
That's
what
a
the Dill
thing.
family?
No. But
Don't lie,
can't-
Nate. This is a safe space.
I
You can
can't
tell
say I
us.
haven't been wondering what it tastes like. I'm sure it tastes great.
Are you going to actually just take your parents to tune in case you
That's
overhear
right.
something good?
Yeah.
You're going to give them flashcards. Here are all the local politicians to know. I want you to keep your eyes peeled for them.
Ah, gosh.
Well, listen, I hope you guys have an awesome Thanksgiving. And, I'm thankful for getting to do this every week with y'all.
You too.
Thanks, Mike.
And I think we're all thankful to everyone who is listening and gives us an excuse to do this with one another every week.
We couldn't do it without you.
So on that, I want to give a big thank you to our newest CityCast DC neighbor, Robin T. Thank you for your support. We couldn't do CityCast without you. As a neighbor, Robin will get to listen to our fourth segment today. It is about the new congressional bills targeting DC. I know. We've heard this story before, but we actually have some new material today. Thank you to a couple of members of Congress. If you want to be sure you always get the full episode, become a member. Head to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. It's only $10 a month. Members get ad-free listening, exclusive members events, and an extra events newsletter every week. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Well, listen, you guys, have an awesome Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you, man. You too.
That is all for today here on CityCast DC. Our production team this week was Annie Reese, Julia Karen, Ash Durbin, and Matt Rogers. Newsletter editor Kayla Cote-Stemmerman wrote our fabulous newsletter Hey DC this week, and our host of Bridget Todd and me, Michael Schaefer from Politico. Music is by Alex Roldan, with additional music from Joseph Rusnak, EJ Sarah, and Rue Walker from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, text your friend who you're taking to tune in just for fun. Also, when you're there, talk loudly about CityCast so everyone can hear you. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye.